All right, Duke beats UVA 80-62. Connor, Duke shot 53% from the field, out rebounded UVA 41-21. It was almost the perfect game for Duke on the road in the ACC play, except for one thing we'll talk about with Malik Brown's injury. But look, 80-62, besides the first 4 or 5 minutes of the game, Connor, it seemed like Duke kind of cruised from there on out, thanks to Isaiah Evans' energy off the bench.
Yeah. I think the best way to look at this, or maybe not the best way, but the way I'm choosing to look at it is Duke in their previous Saturday to Monday swing. It was at Wake Forest and then home against NC State. They had to come back in the second half of both of those and win them by 7 and 10 points, I believe it was. They won this game by 18. And it really felt like it was more than that, given Duke stretched the lead to 27 in the second half, was up by 20 for most of the second half. I don't really care about late buckets scored when nobody is really worried about the outcome in the last couple of minutes. So it's a mature sign. It's one of the reasons why John Shire was encouraged and saying that he felt like they took another step forward after that game, even though, you know, the tendency might be to look at it and say, well, they lost to Clemson like a week and a half ago. They've won 3 games against not very good ACC teams, or at least not cream of the crop ACC teams by blowouts. Like, this was just another one. It's more than that. It's you're going to have to win on one-day preps if this team does what they want to do. And this was an encouraging sign in that regard.
Yeah, I mean, since the last time we recorded, Duke obviously played 3 games. I know we previewed Cal and Stanford and did not preview UVA. That's on me because I forgot that game was on a Monday and not a Tuesday because I thought it would be for this week. But look, 3-0 for since the last time we talked, and Duke found a rhythm after they bounced back after the Clemson loss in fashion against Cal. And then Stanford, poor Jalen Blake. So that was a homecoming that he will remember, unfortunately, for the wrong things. I think he started 0 of 8 from the field. Duke dominated both those teams, and then they went on the road. And I was a little nervous, not really because of black uniforms, but the black uniforms on top of a dark environment. It just looked like it was dark on the court. It seemed like ESPN's pixels were grainy, and I was like, oh, this is going to be a weird game. But after the first 4 minutes, like I said, Duke cruised. UVA scored 12 points in the first 4 or 5 minutes of the game and scored 50 the rest of the game. And, I mean, probably 15 of those came in garbage time as well. Like we talked about, they're up 27. But, yeah, Duke shot 53%, 39 from 3, 9 of 11 from the free throw line. But the key for Duke is the 16 assists on 31 makes and 16 assists to 6 turnovers. When Duke has – as half the assists to field goals to make, it always seems like not only does Duke win, but Duke blows teams out. They cruise, and UVA shot 39%. And look, Duke doesn't get all the calls, Connor. UVA shot 14 of 17 from the line. That's 6 more free throws than Duke. So we can kill that narrative thanks to this game right here. That's it. That's my perfect example for that.
Yeah, was it I think it was on the broadcast. I don't remember if it was on the radio broadcast or the TV broadcast. I was trying to multitask, and it's probably on the radio broadcast because that's the one I was paying more attention to, both because David Shoemate and John Roth do good job, and Corey Alexander was calling the game.
We made it almost 4 minutes into the show, and I was waiting for one of us to break, and you're the first one to break. So congratulations. You won.
I didn't hear much from Corey last night. I heard a lot of Shoemate and Roth.
Well, I heard a lot of Mama Flagg and Mama Knuppel in the second half, so we're even.
Yeah. I believe it was on the Duke radio broadcast that they said neither one of those teams fouls too much. Neither one of them sends its opponents to the line very often, which was a break from Saturday. Duke actually went to the free throw line for scoring 106 points. They went to the free throw line a lot less than I thought they would because Stanford hacks the hell out of everybody. They're, I think, the worst team in the league when it comes to sending their opponents to the free throw line. So that was neither here nor there. Not everybody, but if you follow along my writing and my tweets, I've been obsessed with field goal percentage all season with this team, and they crept above 60% It was 60.2. So that makes 14 out of 26 games that this team has had an field goal percentage of 60% or better. It's just mind-blowing, man.
Yeah, I mean, that's crazy. That is crazy. I'm trying to pull up Ken Palm right now. Duke is second in Ken Palm. They're second in offensive rating. They're at 127.5, right behind Auburn. And then defense are fourth.
Their field goal is up to fifth in the country, and I feel like just a couple weeks ago that was in the teens. I mean, it was 73. It was 73 something against Stanford, and it was the highest since a December 2017 game with the Bagley and Wendell Carter team, and they had a game against Evansville that they won like 104-40, and I think Wendell Carter was like 4 for 5 on threes, and J-Rob hit a couple off the bench, and I think Grayson had a few, but like
I mean, look, Evansville and UVA are about the same. That Evansville team and this year's UVA team in the ACC might as well be Evansville. But all jokes aside, it was impressive. It was an impressive win. Not taking anything from it, but look, 3 players had 17. It was Cooper Flagg, Knuppel, and Isaiah. Speaking of offensive efficiency and what'd you say, field goal percentage?
Field goal percentage, baby.
Yeah, field goal percentage. And Flagg, look, the last few games, off the top of my head, he hasn't really rebounded much. Duke hasn't needed him to rebound much. Well, actually, I take that back. I kind of walked that back a little bit because Duke seemed to be in rebounding battles in previous games. And this game, Duke out-rebounded UVA 41-21, and Flagg had 14 of them. It's just career high in rebounds, and it was an emphasis, you could tell by the coaching staff, to stop being in these rebound margins with inferior teams.
No, it's funny. The one negative thing you heard, or I heard from the Duke locker room on Saturday after the Stanford game, was that they were giving up too many offensive rebounds. They were bothered by it. Clearly the staff was bothered by it. So what happens last night? I almost called it Stanford. Virginia had 1 offensive rebound in the entire first half, and it was on the last possession, which led to that 3 that made it even closer than it was going to be at halftime. It would have been what, 43-26, and instead it was 43-29 when they banged that 3 at the end. That came off an offensive rebound. That was the only offensive rebound of the first half last night. Yeah. And Shire on the post-game radio interview said something about like, usually those are the types of situations that I flip out about, but it was our only one that we gave up all half, and like they did what I wanted them to do until that possession.
He wore it on his sleeve and on the sideline. I watched the film before we got on here for the film breakdown, and he did his old-fashioned Shire fist bump, but in anger of like, damn it, get a rebound. So, you can say he let him off the hook, but in the moment he was pissed, and obviously rightfully so. You never want to give up second chance points right before the half ends. And
it's been hammered into Shire and the other staff and some of the other staffers that you always end the first half with a good feeling and good vibes. Like that's why they always try to go 2 for 1. That's why they do the things that they do in end of half and end of game situations. And so when you give up a 3 on that, it's going to stick in his craw a little bit. But yeah, I mean, again, it's just the maturity of this team, even though they start 3 freshmen and have 2 others playing key roles off the bench, to course correct something that has been a concern for only a week or 2. It's not like offensive rebounding has been a massive concern all season and they've been getting bludgeoned on the boards all year. But to turn it around and correct it in one game that's why this team has the ceiling that they do.
Yeah, and the message was well received. Like I said, Cooper Flagg had 14 in career high, but Knuppel had 7 rebounds. So it was gang rebounding again, and this first time Knuppel has crashed the glass this aggressively, and it seems like in a little while too. So message was well received by Duke by limiting UVA to very few second chance points, 3 second chance points. And 17. Knuppel 3 of 6 from 3, but the man of the hour, the flamethrower himself, Isaiah Evans, comes off the bench, 17 points, 3 rebounds, 2 blocks. And that second block was sweet because he blocked it, and then he gets immediately rewarded by having a little Euro going with the lefty lay through the lane. And that summed up his night perfectly. He played hard on both ends. He gets a block, gets out, and then gets a Euro step finish to sum up the game for Duke, and I'm very happy for him.
He doubled his career high in blocks. He came into the game with 1.
I said I was on the Crazy Cast show last night, and I was like, you know what really makes me irritated with Isaiah is he had 3 too many rebounds and 2 too many blocks. Had the right amount of assists, 0 assists. I want 17 points, 0 rebounds, 0 blocks, 0. I want it all except for points. That is who he is, who he should lean into. Obviously, I'm being sarcastic, but that'd be pretty sweet to see him have 25 in a game with no other stats, just strictly buckets.
It's like you're trying to turn the kid into Carmelo.
Yeah, well, it's funny. He was the only one. Again, I love me a good plus minus. He was the only one for Duke to be negative. He was -1, and he had 17 points. And he didn't play bad. That is just Caleb Foster was -2 and Darren Harris were -3. I don't count those, but the guys that actually played double-digit minutes, he was the only one that was plus minus was a negative. But again, that's not on him. That was just the lineup he was with because he was in at the end of the game with Caleb and Darren, and that 27-point lead or whatever ballooned almost was a backdoor cover there for a second. UVA was flirting to come back and make a backdoor cover, but Duke prevailed in that. So that was altered differently. But it's just very funny to see Isaiah have such a great game, and his plus minus was -1, even though that's out of context.
Yeah, it's always been a misleading stat. That's why every time we even use it to support one of our agendas or narratives.
That's the only reason I use it. I will support my narrative, but I'll always criticize it when my narrative is incorrect. That is the way this podcast works, and that's okay. That's okay by me. Look, we go with a narrative-based podcast here, and plus minus is good for our narratives. Speaking of plus minus, Sion James was a team high plus 26. There you go. That's why I love plus minus, because in 21 minutes, 9 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists. Felt like all that was in the first half, but he's been unbelievable this whole season as just a reliable dude for Duke. But Duke tweeted out after the game, last 2 games, 25 points on 6 of 6 from the field, 10 of 11 from the free throw line, 9 assists to 2 turnovers. That's SGA right there. Just foul bait and get to the line, get your points from the charity stripe. 25 points on 6 field goals is pretty insane.
Good Lord. I didn't realize he hadn't missed a shot in 2 games. That's wild.
Yeah, he hasn't missed a shot in 2 games, and I said it. I don't know if I said it on last show. I said it on the last film breakdown I did. If you are a sports bettor out there, Sion James, 1 or more threes in Cameron, he is shooting 50% on catch and shoots. He's shooting 45% from 3 on the year. So 1 or more, if you're playing at home, there you go, because that worked for me against Cal, and I even had him plus 500 to make 2, and he made 2 of them things. So Sion James at home, a little tip of the cap there for you with some research.
Nice. You need to give me a heads up on these things. Also, I think the sites that I use don't have player props for guys other than Cooper, Tyrese, and Khan.
Bet365 is the one that has like the most player props. DraftKings they're stingy with the names, but Bet365 is my way to go for that avenue. And then Matt, on another side note of this, Reno for Stanford. Shout out to us. We called it. We said Reno was going to make at least 2 of them things, and he had 4, and I had him to make 2 or more, and I had him to make 3 or more, and he had 4 in the first half. So, research, baby. Bet365 also. They might as well sponsor us now. We've already said their name 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, got to get them on. I don't even know where to go from here. What were we talking about?
Let's talk about Sion James. How's Sion James been? Obviously, you didn't realize he hasn't missed a shot in 2 games, but just his impact with this team.
He also, he's not taking shots. Like the last time he had more than 5 shots in a game was the UNC game back on the February 1st, and we're already on February 18th, which is mind-boggling to me. But it just, God, he's hyper efficient. He didn't commit a turnover against Syracuse or against Clemson. He had 5 assists, no turnovers, 4 assists, no turnovers. He's
reliable. Sion James is what Moneyball looks for a baseball player, a guy that just does his job, gets on base, and is productive, because the numbers aren't flashy, but then you really look behind those numbers and you see a guy that is truly efficient in everything he does. He rebounds for his size. Obviously, he's a massive dude. Rebounds as a guard, good vision, court vision. He cuts to the basket, probably the best cutter on this Duke team.
He's a
which
great
says a
cutter.
lot. And he's a reliable catch and shoot guy. Like I said, he's shooting 50% on catch and shoots this year. And 2 years ago at Tulane on catch and shoots, he was shooting 27% from three. So the guy has put in the work, and you're seeing it blossom for Duke.
He's everything they wanted out of the transfer portal. And not to cast stones, not to, disparage guys that were on Duke's team the last couple of years, but like, this is where the transfer portal works for you. You can get older, you can get tougher, and you can get more experienced and more savviness by going into the portal rather than relying on guys to take a jump from 1 year to the next year. You bring in a proven commodity like Sion James. He instantly, from all indications, he is a perfect guy for the locker room and for huddles and for team meetings. Like, he has no ego to him when we talk to him. My favorite part about Sion is, like, I've just gotten into this routine I need to break of going up to him and asking him, like, on Saturday if that was Duke's best offensive game of the season. Like, clearly the numbers say it was Duke's best offensive game of the season. And he's like, yeah, we were pretty good. We still left some things out there, though. Like, he's always telling you that they've got more in the tank. Like, they've got more things to work on. Unless they win a game 140-0, I think he's going to find some things that they should be doing better.
Yeah. And his mentality.
That's what this team needs. Like, that's the way Cooper Flagg thinks. He's not satisfied with anything he does. And that's why he's gone from scoring about 13 or 14 points a game in the first 2 months of the year to being a 20-point guy.
Yeah, look, this is the whole mentality of the Duke team entirely. Knuppel's the same way. He laid out for a loose rebound up 20, hustles back, and gets a transition three, gets rewarded for his hustle immediately. It's just this type of mentality that good's not good enough, and they're not settling. And you can see it. Yes, the ACC's down, but Duke has played with a chip on their shoulder all year, and they're just mentally tougher than they were last year. But that leads us to a perfect segue, Connor, being mentally tough. Another man's down. Malik Brown's injured again. Look, talk about adversity. Duke, I said it last night, Duke is now going to be without Malik Brown a second time. They were without Mason Gillis for 2 games due to sickness. Cooper Flagg played through the flu for a week. John Shire missed a game coaching on the road due to being sick. Like, when you really look at this team, what they had to go through off the court, and I guess on the court as well, just adversity, they've gone through a lot. And this is a position where Duke, where we were concerned with Malik Brown going down the first time with the 5 position, but yeah, just adversity again for this Duke team. Yeah.
You're forgetting Malik missed a game in December with the toe injury too. Remember, he missed Incarnate Word after he had a great game at Louisville.
That's right. Yeah, I did forget about that. That's crazy. And this is where Duke could really use a guy like TJ Power. He impacted the game last night for UVA.
Oh my God. I'm old enough to remember when Duke fans were crying in my mentions about losing TJ Power and Sean Stewart.
That was an unnecessary ricochet shot, but I remember that too. When the sky was falling, I was just looking on Twitter for the more stats, and I saw my TJ Power tweet, so I had to throw that in. But guy did step up in Malik Brown's absence. We will talk about as a whole with Malik Brown, but Pat Ngonga deserves his flowers. 8 points in 11 minutes. There's one play in particular I have clipped up for the film breakdown that I love the most. He's done it through this year in his limited minutes. It's him as a short roller, and he catches it, and he throws that skip pass right away to a shooter in the deep corner. Knuppel missed the 3, but Ngonga seeing that in limited minutes as a freshman is why I'm so high on him, on top of his good feet around the rim as a big man.
I just big men, it feels like it comes down to 2 things once you get coordination in there. And it comes down to feet and hands. And he's got great footwork, and he's got great hands. Like, Cooper Flagg throws him some bullets in the lane from like 8 feet away, and he's able to catch him and put him up, and he doesn't bring the ball back down. He's a solid big man. Like, it is it is a really good thing that Duke was able to bring him along the way they did, not rushing him through the preseason at less than 100%. Like they got him to 100%. They were able to work him into a couple games in November and December, but didn't press the issue with him getting in there or anything. And now he's in a spot now where they're going to lose something. Like you don't lose Malik Brown and still click at the same level. Defensively, they're not in the same ballpark because not many people are in Malik Brown's ballpark. But no, they're going to be okay. They were okay missing Malik Brown for the 4 games that they did. They won all 4, right?
Yeah. They won all 4. It was. Well, I'm gonna get into that, but yeah, they won. It was 3, and you're counting the Notre Dame game too, right? Is that what it is?
No, it was 4 full.
Was it? I looked on the real app, and I thought it was Boston College, Wake, NC State, and the very beginning of Notre Dame. What was
he missed the Miami game too. It was just a 35-point game.
I think Miami missed that game.
Hey, they're tied for last now.
Shout out to the Hurricanes. They're finally pulling it around. Well, continue your thought, Connor, because I'm looking up because I have stat for Maluach. As obviously, look, I just credited Pat Ngonga. Maluach is a guy that needs to step up. The Miami game, he had 12 and 15, but again, that was against Miami, whose defense I think Ferrum could show up and score 60 on him. So
you mean to tell me Lynn Kidd is not a good defensive center? We don't have enough evidence of that in the ACC for the last 4 years.
That actually helps my point because that was a game where Maluach was getting cooked by Lynn Kidd on that side of the ball, where Lynn Kidd had like 16 of their first 20 points, it felt like. Like the guy just had a career game offensively. Defensively, yeah, he could not hold a candle to Maluach's height, but offensively, he was going at Maluach. So my guy that needs to step up is Khaman because, look, last night, after having 2 games of having double digits, one was a double-double. He had 2 points and 4 rebounds in 18 minutes. And look, I know Duke doesn't run the offense through him, but I just like to see him more assertive on the offensive end. Rebounding, when it's gang rebounding and Flagg has 14, Knuppel has 7. Maluach was around there. He's not going to come up with some, but Duke started the game off with a turnover. Maluach had a pick and roll, pretty open, and then a offside guard, backside guard just swipes through and steals it. He's just got to go up with those. He's got to be stronger. I have the 3 games that I thought he missed instead of 4. I have it right here. And these were the 3 games when Malik Brown was sidelined and Maluach had these stats. Against Boston College, 8 points, 4 rebounds, 4 fouls in 17 minutes. He picked up that third or fourth very early in the second half. That was adversity. Then at Wake, 0 points, 3 rebounds, 4 fouls in 18 minutes. And then versus NC State, 8 points, 4 rebounds, but 4 fouls and 3 pounds of puke in 27 minutes. So
he had 8 rebounds and 4 points. Is that what you said?
I said it backwards. Yes, You're right. It's 4. You said 4 points and 8 rebounds?
Yeah.
Sorry. 4 points, 8 rebounds, 4 fouls, and 3 pounds of puke is what the stat line was against NC State. Because when he plays more than 25 minutes, that was 27 minutes, that's going to happen. But I will give him his flowers because the game before that before the Boston College game was Notre Dame, the game that Malik Brown got injured immediately. Played it in 1 minute. Khaman Maluach had 19 and 10 in 32 minutes. If Maluach can give me half of each in 16 minutes, I'll be happy. If you give me 9 points and 5 rebounds in 19 minutes, you're doing your job. And then Ngonga pitch in 5 minutes and Mason Gillis pitch in 6 minutes at the 5. But he's the guy that's going to have to step up with Malik Brown out because Malik Brown does the intangibles on both ends. He's Duke's best passer as a big, obviously, when they go 5 out and he's at the top of the key. You know that he's the best passing big?
Are you not considering Cooper a big?
He's a guard. No, Cooper Flagg's a guard.
He's a 6'9" guy who plays the 4, but he's a guard.
He is a guard. He doesn't want to play back to the basket 4. He's a guard. So,
nobody in college basketball plays back to the basket guard.
Basket forward.
Maryland plays a 250-pound 4, and he's not back to the basket.
Well, my point still stands that if you view Cooper Flagg as a forward or a 4, you're insane. He's a point guard, point forward, whatever. he's not a true four. Like, he's not a true post player. He's not a true post player.
What I'm trying to tell you is there's no such thing as a true four anymore.
Well, I know, but I'm saying my thing is Cooper Flagg's a guard and Malik Brown's a post player. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
So when I say he's the best post passing big for Duke, it's because he's a post player. I view Cooper Flagg on the perimeter.
Okay.
But also, Malik Brown, I'm going to have to hang up the swiper keep swiping meme because right when I posted it, he dislocates his shoulder and I wanted to jump out of my window. I was so upset with myself that I jinxed his shoulder popping out. But have you heard anything?
Jinxes aren't real.
That's another thing. Connor thinks jinxes aren't real, and Connor likes baseball, and that is the most insane thing I've ever heard, that jinxes aren't real. Jinxes are real.
Weak-minded baseball fans believe jinxes are real.
How do you explain the Cubs curse, Connor? Red Sox curse.
Shitty ownership, bad team building. Like,
I've already tuned you out because jinxes are real. The black
maybe
cat.
if the Red Sox had kept Babe Ruth, they wouldn't have gone 84 years without a World Series or whatever it was. Maybe they would have won a World Series with Babe Ruth.
Well, Connor, jinxes are real. Like, if I don't have the remote exactly where it should be while Duke is making a run and I move it and the other team scores, that's on me. That's not on Duke. That's on me.
It's on you.
God knows and sees everything and just punishes me for it.
From 300 miles away. Sure.
What was I say? Oh, Malik Brown. To go back to Malik Brown, yeah, his defense is going to be missed because you can switch 1 through 5 with Maluach to a certain extent, but UVA got to the rim a little bit when they pull him out, and so does most teams. So that's going to be missed for Duke as well.
Yeah, it's not a good thing he's hurt, obviously, but I think there is a silver lining here that Duke has been without Malik Brown before this year. Like, they spent virtually 5 games without him. When you consider the game he was hurt, he missed one. He was in there for 1 minute, and then he missed 4 games after that. They know what it's like to be without him. Pat Gongba looks like he's better now than he was when he was playing 8 to 12 minutes a game when he was out the first time around. They know that they've got the safety net with Mason Gillis. Hopefully he doesn't get sick again and miss games. That would hurt. But they know what they have. We'll figure out more in the coming days about the severity of Malik's injury. Hopefully we can hear from John Shire at some point before they go up to Illinois. But
I'm gonna label the title of this episode that Connor shares breaking news about Malik Brown's injury. Just to clickbait everybody to listen in for you to say, yeah, we'll know later this week, maybe next week.
Hopefully. God, I did feel bad last night. I listened to the radio interview and John Shire said he didn't know what the diagnosis was and he wasn't sure about his status going forward. And then he, I think, got the medical update in between his radio appearance and going to the press conference. And then the press conference, he said he has a dislocated shoulder. So everybody that saw my quotes saying John didn't know what the thing was, then sees the press conference and makes me look like I'm, putting something out there and not giving you all the information. Well, I put out the information that John said on the radio. He just got more information and went to the press conference and it was new information already. Yeah, that's what happens with live speed, baby, live action. Those things are it's crazy how that works. Yeah, he probably just stepped away from shoemate, took 2 steps, and an SID or somebody came over there and was like, hey, this is the injury update. And he's like, okay. But I was going to say, when Malik Brown missed those games, Wake Forest and NC State in particular, Duke had to go zone. So I think Duke might have to go zone in some of these games, some of these sequences. There we go. Sequences in these games, because we saw it against Wake and NC State where whether it was Pat Ngonga at fault or Maluach, Duke had to go to zone because just the absence of Malik Brown, I guess, created more driving lanes for other guards and other bigs got better position. So I would think leading into this Illinois game, which we'll talk about for the next episode,
breaking news to all the listeners. We're going to do a twofer this week. This is just the UVA recap. Illinois preview will come out later this week just to talk about that game. But a little sneak peek there. I think Duke will go a little zone against Illinois if Malik Brown can't play.
Yeah, that would make sense.
It's not what Shire wants to do, but sometimes it's just what you have to do.
I can't tell you how much fun it is to cover two coaches who both, without saying it, seem to subscribe to the theory of zone is for cowards.
Well,
sorry, Jim Boeheim.
I think zone is for cowards is fine take, but I think there comes a time in a certain game where zone is a necessity.
Look, it has its uses.
Correct.
Does. It can stagnate an opponent's offense for a couple minutes. My only thing is you need to use it as a changeup. And if you throw nothing but changeups, they're going to get pounded every once in a while.
It's a great analogy because that's how I view zone is like it's nice throwing off speed pitch here after you're seeing 100 miles an hour every at bat. Yep. Just drop one, and that's what the Duke won the game against Wake and NC State because they did go zone. Both Wake and NC State, off the top of my head, they were 1 for 6 both teams against Duke zone, and that slowed the game down. And Duke won those games.
And then Duke tried to go zone at Clemson, and it didn't work as well.
Yeah, we don't have to talk about Clemson. That is a blurred memory for me with just that broadcast and. We're not going to talk about the trade. I already talked about the trade last week on the Clemson game. Still not over it, but it's fine. I do have conscience. This is going to be a shorter episode because I don't have much left. I do have a question for you that I answered on the Crazy Cast last night, and it was a question that was brought up. Does losing Malik Brown, say Malik Brown, it is season ending. Just we're going to play that hypothetical. If it is season ending, to you, does this hurt Duke chances to win a title? Or can Duke still win it? I guess obviously it hurt their chances, but can Duke still win a national title without Malik Brown?
I think so because there's so much variance in the NCAA tournament. Like I think there's only a handful of teams that Duke would not be able to beat without Malik Brown. Auburn being first and foremost at the front of my mind because of how good he was against Janai Broome in Cameron. But Duke wouldn't see Auburn until either the Saturday night or the Monday night game. Yeah. That's it. So Auburn could lose before then. Duke could lose before then for a different reason. I think they could.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. I think I took kind of like a coward's way out and just said it depends on the matchups. Like it really depends on Duke's draw, and that is the way you got to look at it. Because March Madness, I just think about Wichita State that one year where they were 1 seed and the committee gave them Kentucky as an 8 seed, and you're like, what the hell? This is bullshit. And so I think the one last week was after we recorded was Duke would play St. John's in New Jersey. And I'm like, what? That would be horrible. That would be such a tough test. That'd be a tough test.
Duke draws in New York and Jersey, so I think
but I don't want Rick
be a favorable crowd.
I don't want Rick Pitino to feel comfortable in the environment.
That's fair.
That's where it's tough because when Duke lost to South Carolina, because of North Carolina couldn't host anything, Frank Martin has a home game and they run to the Final Four because they knock off Duke.
Yeah. No, I go with the single elimination stuff. I think every Duke fan has fond memories of 2015, and I'm not trying to crap on those, but the 2015 season was all about Kentucky being undefeated until it wasn't, and until Wisconsin played the game of their lives and beat them in the Final Four. Yeah.
And I do think that's a blessing in disguise for this Duke team to lose at Clemson, to where this Duke team 20-0 in the ACC. Like, I know they lost 2 games by 1 possession against Kentucky and at Kansas, but this team was undefeated in the ACC, and then that's the title. 19-1 doesn't have the same ring to it, but I think that's a good thing. I think Shire deep down would tell you it's a good thing. I know Shire wants to win every game, but in terms of narratives, you want to be you want to be under the radar, then people are always talking about you. And I think Auburn has taken that. Auburn could lose 3 straight games since this recording. They'll be #1 team in the country. Based, Jeff Goodman had a chance to do it. So, you never know. But I think Duke will
We're
be
just mentioning all of our best buddies on this show.
I don't mind, honestly. I don't mind them. But I was going to say I do hope Malik Brown is nothing that serious. I would hoping it's like a 2-week thing, or maybe comes back for conference tournament. I mean, never know.
My non-medical understanding of dislocated shoulders and such is like based on watching what he did to dislocate that thing's been out before.
Correct. Yeah.
Like I can remember back to talking to a guy that I lived with my freshman year at Elon. He was a tight end on the football team, and his shoulder kept popping back out because it had come out in high school and then it had come out a second time. And he explained to me, like, once it comes out the first time, it's 50% more likely to come out the next time. And I think that percentage keeps going up. Like if you do it 3 times, you're that much more likely to have a 4th time doing it.
Yeah,
I'm not saying it's come out like 7 times for Malik, but based on him, I mean, it's not like he was really overextended that much on the reach. And how many other times have you seen him reach for a ball like that this year? And he hasn't dislocated his shoulder.
Yeah, I mean, I had a teammate in college. He's built just like Sion James. Like, dude was massive, but he separated his shoulder at a away game, and then ever since that was like his sophomore, junior year. And just the weirdest things, like you see this big just imagine Sion James doing the same thing Malik Brown did, and then you see Sion James holding his shoulder. You're like, how did that just happen? That was what we witnessed. I'm like, there's no way you just did that again. And it happened because, like you said, the percentages go up, and it's a freak thing. There was no velocity behind the pass. There was no like recoil to make his shoulder do that. It just happened. And that scares me for him, because like if you want to play, at the next level, that's already a physical that the guys are really going to look at. Like, look, I don't know about your durability. That shoulder's going to hold up. Yeah. And that's a long-term problem for him. But short-term is, can he get back on the court for Duke? And if it's something that, where he's going to wear a compression sleeve when he comes back, that's almost a given. He wears a compression sleeve. I just hope that it's right before he can play the conference tournament. That's all I would like for him to get back in rhythm. That's never fun for his first game to be back the first weekend of March. That's a lot. Well, I mean, yeah. I just think about the Duke will finally have, a rhythm in the system, a rhythm with like Ngonga playing a little bit more minutes, Maluach, and it's a different element. It's like Kyrie, right? When Kyrie got hurt, he didn't come back till the first weekend of March, right? He didn't play ACC tournament, I don't think.
I think that's right. I think Kyrie's first game back was the first round of the NCAA tournament.
Yeah. I mean, look, Arizona was going to put up that much inevitably, but you could make an argument that Duke found a rhythm finally with the guys they had, and then they just ran into a juggernaut that was Derek Williams and lit Duke up. So I don't know, but I hope all is well with Malik. And Connor, if I'm missing anything, let me know.
I don't think so. This serves as the Virginia recap, and we'll get another one out pretty shortly on previewing an Illinois team that has a really high ceiling and a really low floor.
Yeah, we're going to preview that. I mean, this was about 40 minutes long, and then that one will probably be less than 40. It'd be probably 30. But I didn't want us to do both in this one because, like I said, I needed to do research. I just got done doing the film breakdown of last night for Duke. I would like to do a film breakdown preview of Illinois, and then I can talk about those talking points of what I see on our next podcast as well for the listeners. But look, man, I appreciate you hopping on, and we're going to get this out to the listeners. It's Tuesday during the day. We're going to have it out by tonight. And if it doesn't, I'll fire the intern, who is myself. So, Connor, I appreciate you, as always, coming on, and I'll see you later this week.
Sounds good.